Hi, and welcome to the Earthier Wellbeing Show with me, Abhimanyu Dhakal. Joining me today is Amrita Kotak, all the way from Bombay, and she's going to tell us in a very refreshing way about how our approach towards nutrition and diet is supposed to be. And welcome, Amrita. Welcome to the Earthier Wellbeing Show. This episode is brought to you by Earthier Yacon Syrup, a natural prebiotic sweet supplement that helps you manage your blood sugar levels. Click on the link in the description to know more.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
So let's get straight down to the questions, Amrita, and tell me, why did you choose nutrition as a subject? What were the reasons of taking it up as a career? Was it you really loved it, or was it series of life events which led you to this career choice? Yeah.
So I've always been a foodie. I love eating even till date. It kind of makes me feel really bad if I have to ever tell anybody ki oh ye mat khao for whatever reason, which is why you'll never see that in my practice either. And so when I was kind of just going through life, I was like, I have to figure out a way in which I can eat everything that I love and still maintain my weight, still maintain my health because obviously that's important. I come from a very large family that has a whole history of health related issues, lifestyle related issues. So I was like, I know this is important, but I still want to have my cake and eat it too, so to say. And I actually did my undergrad in speech therapy in Boston. So I was studying speech therapy and psychology. And because the food in America was so different than what I ate in India, I had to figure out, ways that I could manage my health while I was over there. So I met someone on campus. We had like a nutrition center there, and one of the dietitians really helped me figure out what were some choices that I could make while I ate over there. And this kind of made me realize that, okay, even though the food is so different, you can still do things to take care of yourself just as long as you know what needs to be done. Like you just need to have the information. Also, a lot of self reading on my own. And I had to take a couple of nutrition courses as part of my speech therapy coursework, which further got me interested in pursuing the subject. And yeah, I also actually have PCOS, which is a hormonal condition that girls have. And it kind of flared up the most when I was in the US because at this point of time, I was managing everything on my own. So I was cooking on my own, school stuff
Mhm.
on my own. I feel like the stress of just things kind of added up, and I didn't necessarily know how to deal with that, which is why my health worsened. But I feel like that was a very pivotal time in my life when I realized, ki, okay, this is where your food really can step in and help you take care of your symptoms, can help you get a regular period once again. And again, I wasn't studying nutrition at this point of time. I was still studying speech, but it's just my interest in nutrition really peaked at this time because I was like, have to figure this out. It's my body, it's my life. I have to take care of myself. And just
Mhm.
through my reading, I realized ki, okay, you can eat anything that you like. You just have to figure out the correct portion to eat it in, the correct other foods to combine it with and eat it so that it can support your health. Maybe swap out a few ingredients here and there to make it a little healthier for you. But kuch bhi kha sakte ho. Even if you want to eat burgers, it's fine. Fries is fine. Just figure out a way. When in the day can you eat it? How much can you eat? And you'll be okay. So just that
Okay.
that excitement of the okay, now there's this way that I want to teach this to other people too because I know that a lot of people love to eat, and one of the first things that people get told when they go to dietitians is, or like I think that's the preconceived notion that people have is ki, they're going to tell me to stop eating all this, so like let me eat it before I go, which I never want anybody to feel because like food is life.
Right. So a couple of things that I picked out from when you were speaking is that one is some you have a large family and a lot of people in your family have had some kind of a lifestyle disease. I think that is very much normal. When we see in our own family, in my family, as well. The second thing is that you went through a personal issue regarding like as simple as having your your monthly periods. So that itself, and from a hormonal perspective, from a person who who does not understand that, for a girl, that is very important, just to feel healthy also. This is supposed to happen month on month. Why is this
Correct.
not happening? So and then the third thing is that you worked on yourself, and that makes it even more enriching for anybody you're going to be teaching, or telling that, okay, fine, this is the right way to eat and this is what you should be eating, and this is something that you should cut down on if you can't avoid it altogether.
Correct.
That's so refreshing, man. And again, I wanted to talk a bit about you studied in Boston University. You did your undergrad as well as your grad, and living as a vegetarian in the United States. Can you tell me something about that?
Yeah, so actually, I think I don't know whether the vegetarian. I wouldn't call it trend, but there are a lot of vegetarian options available everywhere in the US, and because veganism is such an important uh, lifestyle over there, you do get a lot of vegetarian food. So it's not hard. It's just not necessarily foods that you've heard of ever before, right? So like avocados, for example, I had never eaten avocados before I went to the US, and they are currently one of my favorite fruits. I can eat them at any time, and they're great. They're great for health. So just a whole bunch of foods that you're not sure of how to balance. I remember the first time that I ate egg salad. I was like, "Ye to healthy hoga. It's egg, it's salad. Like I know both these things
Hmm.
are." Not knowing that egg salad is full of mayo, which is like not the best option. So things like that, trial and error. Like you hear things, but you've just never eaten them before. So
Hmm.
they can be like a little deceptive, a little misleading. But it definitely wasn't hard to get access to vegetarian food. And I think another thing that I really liked in the US is that they make their food products in a way that are very consumer friendly. So it's very easy to read labels. It's very easy. There's a lot of transparency. They will not agree, but I feel like compared to India, I found it a lot easier to read food products there. So again, because I was doing my own reading, I had educated myself on how to read labels. When they say something is high, something is low, what does that mean? All of that. So it made it really easy to pick foods to make smart choices while I was over there.
Yeah, man. And when we talk to a lot of people, some people say financial literacy is very important to survive in this modern world. I think nutrition literacy is also very important to survive.
Yeah.
Your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, no, I
Yes.
completely agree with you. And I feel like that's one skill that I've definitely brought back. And it's
Hmm.
something that I even work with my clients on, like reading labels, especially because everybody does like to eat food that's packaged readily available. Nobody wants to eat gharka food all the time. So, like the few times that you do want to eat out, it
Hmm.
definitely helps if you know how to make these choices for yourself without having to constantly contact me and be like, is this okay for me to eat? Is this okay for me to eat? Which I think
Right.
it make you, if I can help you make independent food choices, that's my goal with every client. So
Right. And Amrita, I just wanted to ask you about, when you see the content that I have interacted with on Instagram and on YouTube on your channel. Guys, if you are watching the show, I want you to go down to the link in the description, and please follow and subscribe to Amrita's links, reallife.dietitian on Instagram and on YouTube as well. So, Amrita, your take on information is so on content is so refreshing and entertaining at the same time. It's very simple, there is there are no jargons there. It's very friendly for me also. Like how do you come up with this kind of how do you look at the content that you're creating? And I related a lot to it. I don't know about the other people. What is your take on it? How do you go about doing this? Yeah.
oh, thank you so much for saying that. First of all, I think that's been my goal with creating this content on Instagram and on YouTube both. And in fact, it's one of the things that I found when I was looking at other pages on Instagram, I was like, okay, this content appeals to me because I understand the jargon, like you mentioned, I understand the technicalities of nutrition. But tomorrow, if there's like a lay person reading this, I don't think that would be very helpful for them to understand. And I actually realized the importance of speaking the language of your audience again in Boston. So in one of my again self readings, I came across Rujuta Divekar's books. She's also a really popular nutritionist in
Yes.
India. I loved the way, the simplicity with which she had written her books. I thought it was possible for even a lay person to understand what she was talking about because she had used such relatable analogies. And
Right.
a lot of my self work before I even studied nutrition, I just took tips from her books because they were so easy to understand. And I was like, okay, if this is the power of just talking to the common man, not using jargon, not using any kind of technicalities, because if people don't understand you, they're going to turn off, right? You don't want them to tune out from what they're saying. You want to be relatable to them at every level. So that was the intent behind creating
Right.
content. And what happens with YouTube, again, a lot like something that I might think is easy might not really be easy for a lay person to understand. Like in my head, I'm like, ye to sabko pata hoga, but that's not the case.
Yeah. Mm.
So I usually have, a friend or two read my entire script before I decide to record it. A lot of
Right.
times they'll come up with stuff like, oh, this was not clear, or maybe you think you're being clear, but I'm not really understanding what you're saying. So then I know how people are thinking and how some stuff is really not clear, or some phrases need to be avoided, some words need to be avoided. So
Right.
that's how I go about doing it, and I try to keep it as real life as possible. So again, this is how the name of my brand even came up, Reallife.Dietitian. It's
Mm.
just that people have these ideals of how you should eat and how you should live life and stuff, but ठीक है, you can't live like that because we have
Yeah.
access to so much, right? Everybody knows that you should like not be smoking, not be drinking, whatever, but people do it. So like
Mm.
given that there is an 100% ideal life, how
Mm.
much can you still do out of that 100%, right? Everybody wants to score 100% marks when they're in school, but realistically maybe only 70-80% possible. So you still aim for that 100%, but you, even if you get 80, 90, whatever, you settle for it, it's okay, you're still going to
Yeah.
manage just fine. So I feel like that's the concept that I really try to teach people. Like, okay, it might be ideal to eat 5 cups of vegetables a day, but realistically, if you can only do two, 2.5, let's figure out a way that you can do that sustainably.
Right. That's like I find that very, for me it's very good, because most of the people, I have this fight myself, like what should I be eating. I'm consuming homemade food, and very rarely do I eat out on a personal base, on a personal level. But when I do, then like that I just don't want that guilt to be setting in. And and the second thing is that I've, like, it's been hardly 4 5 months that I have personally turned vegetarian,
Okay,
just
wow.
just experimenting with it. But it's been 5 6 months, and um I don't know, I get very less food choices according to me. I
Yeah,
find that vegetarians में बस हमारे लिए बस पनीर ही बना हुआ है.
correct, correct. So if
So
you have
wherever you go out also, yeah, yeah.
No, if you have been eating meat, I feel like that can seem like a big switch because, like you're saying, paneer is definitely the most prominent kind of protein over there, and it's not as flavorful as the other meats, right? I mean, I'm vegetarian too, but I have eaten
Hmm.
chicken in the past, so I completely know what you're talking about.
Hmm.
But I think recently there's been like an explosion of plant protein based products that are being created, mock meats, so to say. I don't know if you've had a chance to try any of those,
No.
but companies like Blue Tribe, Imagine Meats, all of them are creating these, texturally similar to meat wale
Yeah.
products, and some of them are actually pretty good. So maybe that's
Yeah, my
something you can do
yeah,
if you
yeah. My
get
my
bored.
my friend, he just got back from Delhi, and he had gone there for some meeting and stuff like that. And but like, he's a vegetarian. He's like, from birth he's been a vegetarian. So when I was talking to him, like, yeah, I've turned vegetarian 5 6 months. I've not been I'm like anything special. It's just paneer. And he said that, dude, now there's so many, like, I went to Delhi, I had a burger, and that patty, you just can't distinguish. Like, you just can't. And I asked him, then what was the base of it? He said it was jackfruit. So like I said, wow,
Correct.
man. So this
Yeah.
is something that
They're
I need to
really going
try.
above and want to give people that meat experience. Obviously, nutritionally, it's not the same at all.
Okay, yeah.
But texturally and taste wise, you can get pretty close to some of the meat products.
Right. But that's great. I just like, sometimes then there is also another doubt that comes into my mind is that, is that how good is it? Like, from a nutritional point of view, the label point of view. So, कितना
Correct.
preservatives डाल रहे हैं ये पता नहीं चलता है. Like that is my biggest doubt. But I'm sure, like,
Correct.
it might be on a, like, if you want to stay on the vegetarian path, then I think this is a very decent option. Uh,
So I like to tell people that use majority of fresh food, and then maybe 20 to 30% in the day you can look at packaged food to
hmm.
support what you're getting from real food. So say for example you were using one of those packaged products, it could be like it could be one meal or like part of one meal, and then in the other meals you make sure that you're getting in your fresh fruits, veggies, paneer, dals, all of that.
All right. I think we'll just like, tag a couple of these brands also. So all the
Super.
vegetarians, if you're looking at this.
That's brands that I've personally tried, and I would no kind of affiliation, but I
Hmm,
genuinely feel like they deserve a shout out because they've been doing some good stuff. Like you said, it can get boring sometimes.
yeah,
They've been doing some fun stuff with food, and that's always
right,
refreshing.
right, Amrita. And let's like, let's just roll back to again some of the things that bother our customers, or like, from my end, my customers of my product, Earthier Yacon Syrup, and from your perspective, the clients that who are listening to you, talking to you, and interacting with you on a daily basis. Um, what's your take on lifestyle conditions or lifestyle diseases in general? Yeah, what do you feel about it?
I definitely feel like there's been an explosion in the food that we have access to, and information also that we have access to. So a lot of people will talk about, oh, you should be eating how your grandmoms ate, or like how we used to eat so many years back because there used to be not so many diseases at that time. But I feel like that's a little impractical to do because we live very different lives now than we did then, and we also have access to a lot more now than they ever did then. So I feel like it's always great to eat food that you have available to you locally, but people do want to eat foods that are available in other parts of the world, especially because not everybody can, afford to travel everywhere. And I feel like food is a really great way to experience some of that culture, even if you can't physically be in that place. So people do want to try different things. Marketing has exploded. Everything is just made to look so beautiful, so delicious, so tempting. So when people don't know how to use all of this information, I feel like it can backfire on their health, which is where I feel I come in because I like to do this myth busting kind of stuff with food, and be like, okay, if someone is saying this, like, what's the truth behind it, or like how much truth is behind it. So I feel like it's just the super easy access to food that we have now. Maybe the reduction in physical activity because again we have a lot more access to easy transport. Don't need to walk around as much. Don't need to be physically active. So all of this has just cumulatively been adding up and leading to more lifestyle conditions now than we ever.
Actually, also like, from say from 2000 to 2022. So in these 22 years, if you look at the population in general, people have moved into the middle class or the higher middle class. They have more access to options, and they're traveling more. They're visiting different places, different cultures, interacting with many more people, and trying out different kinds of things. And with that rising affluence also comes all the stuff, like, from vehicles to everything. And if you look at it from a 22-year perspective also, Amrita, if you see that initially, way back in say 2000, how many nutritionists and dietitians were there in India? It was basically the doctors who were advising, or some kind of healthcare practitioner or health professional who was advising them on a very rudimentary level, that okay, fine, if you have diabetes, avoid rice. Okay, if you have this, avoid
Correct.
this. Now it has become more complex, and complex in the sense that it's personalized. That's how I'd like to put it. And that is, people who have access to this personalized kind of consultation, they are sort of like, getting out of the lifestyle diseases loop. What is your take on that?
Correct. No, I definitely agree. And I feel like personalization is very important these days because, again, like we just discussed, people are living very different lives than they did many very recently, even just from the last like 5 or 7 years to now, I feel like people live very different lives even on a day-to-day basis. So like what I'm doing today might not be what I'm doing tomorrow, might not be what I'm doing next week. And I feel like if you have a lifestyle disease, you need to know how to modify your food, you need to know how to modify your exercise to be able to suit all those three different conditions. Because if your life is not going to change, your lifestyle needs to change, or vice versa. You need one to adapt to the other. So it's definitely become very important, and I think honestly it's the way forward, and it's how it's going to be from now on.
This is a trend that, like, I have been observing in Sikkim as well, as in, like, my in neighboring places where I interact with people a lot. Even in Nepal, like, that I've been traveling a bit to Nepal these days, and this is something that I have been seeing over there as well. Is that people are having they don't know what to do with their lifestyle condition. Like,
Correct.
somebody comes and tells them, okay, fine, you avoid this, you eat this, you do this, you do that. And that is where, like, I felt, I genuinely felt empathy for them. And that is the reason why, one of the many reasons why I started this well-being show. And I wanted to bring in nutritionists and dietitians and speak to them, because you guys are the champions, man.
Thank you so much. That's in fact one of the reasons why I started my YouTube channel
Yeah,
also, is because my whole aim for that was just to myth bust food. I mean, now there are obviously a lot of other topics that I also cover, but the primary aim was I want to be the voice that takes these things that people are confused about and bring clarity to them about
right.
it. Because there are so many misconceptions that people have about food. And I feel like if this can become like a credible place that people can trust and, know that, okay, if I go to her channel, I know I'll get trustworthy, credible information about it. That's
Right.
something that's very, very
Seriously, Amrita, because this is something that we need to do. You from a professional perspective, but me, like, keeping my product aside, like, this is something that has influenced me a lot. Like, this misinformation
correct.
is too much. It's a bit too much.
Right.
And
Yeah.
now I wanted to go deep dive a bit further down. Is that what are the kind of people that are coming to you and talking to you as, like, your clients mainly? What is the age profile? What is their professional profile? Please speak a bit about that. Yeah.
Sure. So generally, recently rather, I've been trying to focus more on women's health because I feel like right from puberty all the way until menopause, women go through very distinct stages in their life hormonally, all of which impact their health a lot. So right from puberty to pregnancy to lactation to then perimenopause and menopause, they have very different nutritional needs all through those phases, and all of these are very critical times in women's health, where if you don't do what needs to be done in these stages or in these phases, it can really impact your health later on in life. So I feel like each of these are great times to really maximize and optimize your nutrition and your physical activity so that you're taking care of your health later on in life. So it's like an investment in your
Mhm.
own health of sorts at these particular phases in life. And because women have so much going on just in terms of, when you get married, life changes, when you have kids, life changes. And I feel like women put everybody ahead of themselves. So I feel like if I could be that support for them in these critical periods of their life, making sure if nobody else can take care of you, at least let me do what I can do for you to make sure that you have a smooth life later on in life. That would be great. So I've been focusing a lot more on women's health. So most of my clients are women. The men that I do have as clients, they are generally either for weight management purposes from like a preventive nutrition point of view, ki, take care now so that nothing happens later. Or they're with me for diabetes management, which I take care of type 1 diabetes as well as type 2 diabetes. Type 2 is the
Yeah.
lifestyle kind of diabetes. So the management on that front is mostly, reducing medication as much as possible, or in some cases, even attempting a complete reversal of the
Yeah.
diabetes.
And that's yeah,
So
please.
no. So the age group for the women is generally anywhere from, I would say 23, 25 to around 45,
Mm.
50. and the men are usually
Mhm.
older, so 40s,
40.
50s.
I
Yes,
find this like I'm happy that people are approaching you from a preventive perspective, because nobody
correct.
talks like when we are talking about personalized nutrition, guys, like this is straight to you. You should be looking at the preventive aspect, and this is where Amrita can actually come in and help design a nutrition profile for you, where you start taking those precautions right from the beginning and enjoy life a little longer.
Absolutely. In fact, it's so interesting that a lot of the I also have a separate page which I on Instagram which I focus for pregnancy
Hmm.
nutrition, and I've so many women come to me with this was even a very big surprise to me, but so many women come to me even before they're pregnant, maybe while they've been planning their pregnancy, being like, we want to get fit from now to be able to have a fit pregnancy and to be able to recover from the pregnancy, which is fabulous. In my head, I feel like the fact that people have awareness that nutrition can really help you optimize your health as well as your baby's health, not just through the pregnancy but
After.
even after that. That's preventive nutrition too, and I feel like that's a great place to start even before you think of making this massive change to your body in a pregnancy, like taking care of the now so that the later is taken care of.
Amrita, I'm going to put that link of that new channel, of that new profile also under in the description, because this is something, especially the pregnancy part, right? Now you're bringing another life into the world, and the pressures and the stresses that a person goes through, especially from the second trimester, third trimester. There are different kinds of pressures, from stress and stuff like that. My, being a husband, being a father, I understand the challenges that a woman, from a distance, at least I understand the kind of challenges that they have. And nutrition is always, a big challenge, like, in the sense, in the middle of my wife, she suddenly stopped eating meat completely, and those kind of
Correct.
things, why, oh, that was the source of protein and stuff like that. And when you personalize it with the help of a nutritionist, I think that is going to be really helpful. At least one stress level gets reduced, one point of
Exactly.
stress
I
gets
completely.
reduced.
Yes, and pregnancy is such a dynamic stage, right? Every woman's pregnancy is different. There's no one size fits all. आज उल्टी हो रही है तो next week, constantly be able to modify your food to make sure that nutritionally the body is getting everything that it needs to in order to again take care of yourself first and then also your baby.
Right. I'm so happy about this new channel also.
Thank you.
About this new profile, because there are so many women that I think, they have this anxiety when it comes to nutrition, especially during pregnancy, or when they're planning their pregnancy. And now coming again to to your wonderful and refreshing feed. So I saw a post which I found very interesting, is about passionate foodie. So can you just explain about that person, please?
Yeah, so like I said, the main reason that I got into nutrition was because I love eating food. I don't like
Mm.
being told ki you can't eat this or you shouldn't eat this. I mean, unless of course you have like an allergy or something where it's going to be detrimental to your health. But for most people, if they're not allergic to food, there's going to be no food that they can't eat, right? Whether it's
Yeah.
fried eat, whether it's anything. If you know how to manage it into your diet, you can absolutely eat it even on a regular basis. So the whole passionate foodie came from there. My ideal client is someone who loves to eat and doesn't want to give up eating any of their favorite food just because like health. Because you don't need to do.
Yeah.
So like come to me so I can teach you how to include all and everything that you love to eat while still
Right.
your health and while still achieving and hitting all your health goals.
Yeah, man, because there is that passionate foodie post. It just caught my eye, and I just loved your approach towards content. Is that, yeah, yeah, he loves to eat, but also does not want to get all these
Okay.
diseases later on in life.
What
And there's
people
also another
forget.
thing that I really liked.
Sorry, go
Right? Yeah.
ahead.
There's also another thing that I really liked was the age health, that it's right, it's there in your Instagram profile, slightly deeper.
Correct.
I really enjoyed that also. Very simple, simple language, easy to understand, and the person, if you were to go through those posts, some guys, if you are watching this, please link in the description, click on our Instagram profile and check that out. It's very simple, let me tell you, but very, very interesting, and you should be following her as much as possible. And yes, so now the people that come to you from, like we talked about the preventive aspect, from PCOS, pregnancy, even slightly from a diabetes perspective, we were talking about the prevention. But say, like, I have found very few nutritionists and dietitians being very confident saying that that I can try to the best of my ability to reverse your diabetes through food and nutrition. Amrita, what is your take on this aspect of reversal and maintaining that reversal stage of diabetes?
So when we're talking about reversal, first of all, to just clarify to everyone, we're only talking about type 2 diabetes,
Okay.
and we are talking about, to an extent, gestational diabetes, which is diabetes that can happen when a woman is pregnant.
Mm,
Those are the only two conditions that can, when we talk about reversal, that's what we're talking about. Type 1 diabetes is not reversible. Um, so when we're talking about reversal of diabetes, normally this happens, or this can be said for people who have just been diagnosed with diabetes maybe in the last like 2 to 3 years. When the condition hasn't gotten really bad, where maybe the damage to the pancreas, which is the organ which is responsible for releasing,
mm,
hormones and stuff, the damage is not so severe yet because the length of time has not been so long. So you can reverse it through lifestyle conditions. Again, it's not for everyone. In some cases it's possible, in many cases it's possible, and it does still need to be maintained with lifestyle conditions though. Fortunately, the way that I prescribe my plans and the way that I teach people to kind of plate their different meals when they're eating, uh, it takes care of the management post reversal
mm,
bit. So you eat in the same manner when you're trying to reverse it, and you eat in the same manner when you're trying to maintain it also,
mm,
and both work the same way,
mm.
and it can absolutely be done. It
Yeah.
needs to be maintained though, because if you've had diabetes at any point of time, even if it's just a little bit, that damage to the pancreas has been done. So you do need
Right.
to take care of it. So if you had 100% functioning, वो 100 का 80 हो गया होगा, but you're still at 80. So that 80 needs to be taken care of, that it doesn't become worse, which
Yeah.
is why that maintenance phase comes in versus someone who doesn't have diabetes at all. But technically, someone who's in a maintenance of diabetes and someone who doesn't have diabetes should ideally be eating the same way.
Right. Because within my own family also, a lot of people, Amrita, is that, they got diabetes. Some of them got diabetes rather early at the age of 40 to 43. And for 10 years, they just completely avoided medication. They added a bit of physical activity. But from a nutrition point of view, they were totally blindsided in the sense that, हाँ करेंगे देख लेंगे हम rice नहीं खाएंगे ये नहीं करेंगे simple stuff they were doing on their own level. But when the personalized nutrition comes about, I think they would have done a much better job, because after 10 years, when they needed, sort of like, they developed cataract. One of my relatives developed cataract and he needed an operation. His blood sugar levels were off the roof. He had not even checked.
Correct.
So these kind of
Part about diabetes is that it doesn't necessarily present itself very loudly in terms of symptoms. Some people do realize it, but like you said, right, surgery kiye tab pata chala that blood sugars were soaring high. For a lot of people, that's how they get diagnosed initially. That they need
yeah,
to go for some procedure and just in routine blood work, because you have to get blood sugar work done. That's when the diabetes shows up. So it's really
yeah.
helpful to have like a preventive plan in place where you're reducing the chances that you would develop the condition in the first place.
Absolutely, man. And this is where, like, I think, and the more I interact with nutritionists and dietitians, Amrita, I feel that, uh, in the future, in the coming 5 7 years, there'll be a lot more people talking of personalized nutrition. The way, like, nowadays everything people are monitoring, right from a wristwatch. So you have a wristwatch, you have a smartwatch, you can monitor quite a lot of things. I think nutrition is also going to go in that direction.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And okay, like, we're getting to the end of the conversation now, Amrita, and I would like to know what are the five things a pre-diabetic person should do to never get diabetes? Now, I'll repeat that question. Five things a non-diabetic or a pre-diabetic should do to never get diabetes.
Okay. So, lifestyle plays a very, very important role in helping maintain or prevent diabetes, but it's not something that can completely stop you from getting it, because diabetes is not caused only by your lifestyle, or it's not even, yeah, that's not the primary cause of it. There always is some. So lifestyle is not something that can cause diabetes. It is something that can worsen the condition if you already have it, and it can help maintain your symptoms and kind of help reverse it, like we spoke. But in a lot of cases, there are underlying even genetic conditions or genetic factors that predispose you to having diabetes. We don't live in the cleanest air, we don't have the best stress management strategies, so there's even all of that which plays a role in triggering the condition. That being said, there is still a lot that we can do. So maybe we can modify the question to five things that people with pre-diabetes can do to prevent diabetes instead of not
Okay.
having it completely.
Okay.
Uh, so the first thing I would say is to eat a balanced diet. I have this really cute template of what a balanced diet is on my YouTube channel and on my Instagram page. It's fairly easy for everyone to follow. This was a graphic developed by the US FDA, and it just talks about how half your plate at all meal times should mostly be vegetables. So the bulk of your meal should be sabjis of any kind. So it can be a salad, soup, stir fry, however you like your veggies, but it should be vegetables. 1/4 of your plate should be some source of protein, and then 1/4 of your plate should be your carbohydrate, which is your roti or rice or bread or whatever, which is generally not how we eat our plate. So I feel like even just fixing this basic plate can go a long way towards helping you prevent the development of this condition. The second is regular physical activity. And when we're talking about regular from a diabetes prevention point of view, it's as little as 2 to 3 hours of exercise a week, which is really not much. That's like
Mm,
3 days a week if you exercise out of 7. And you need to be performing moderately intense exercise, which means that you should not be able to sing through an exercise session. So you should be able to hold a moderate conversation if someone is talking to you. But if someone asks you to sing, and if you can sing, that's not intense enough.
mm,
Up the intensity a little
mm,
bit. So that's
mm,
one way to judge whether your exercise is intense enough. The third thing you can do is manage stress. I feel like this doesn't get, or it gets said enough, but people don't practice it enough because it's slightly abstract, the concept of stress management. But even if you don't have any major life stressors, like you don't have to be getting divorced or you don't have to have lost your job, even just daily stressors, irritation, anger, frustration, all of that can also build up over time and trigger like an insulin resistance or a diabetes. So managing even those daily stressors is really important. Making sure that you're sleeping on time. Sleep is a very, very major source of stress for the body. Mentally it doesn't stress you out, but it's a very big physical stress for the body if you don't sleep enough. So making sure that you're getting in your quality sleep every night is also super important.
mm.
Making sure that you're not, again, not using ideally, but if you do use substances, using them in the recommended amounts. So it's recommended that you don't smoke at all. Stop smoking if you do. If you consume alcohol, it's generally recommended that men limit it to two standard drinks a day, women limit it to one. Usually, a lot of us can do with way smaller amounts than even this. So, try and follow those recommendations, guidelines. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
all that you
I
from
think
a
very well summarized. Yeah, that it's so simple also, Amrita. Like the way you just said that, it just shows from where the way you've been building your content on your Instagram as well as on YouTube, and the way you're communicating right now, it's just like it's so pleasing to the ear. Okay, all right, I should be able to try this at least.
Yeah, so that's what it should. These are all ways in which it's absolutely non-overwhelming for you as the audience to try it. So like the plate thing, right? It's a very simple visual.
Yeah.
You don't need measuring cups, you don't need weighing scales, nothing. Up You just need eyes and you need a plate. Visually you'll know whether your plate looks balanced.
Right, right. So, guys, after this enriching conversation with Amrita, I think we can all go back and just try and implement a couple of tips that we have got from her. The other thing is that, we should really be, if you're going through a problem or if you have family members that who have certain issues, I think it's always smart to talk to a nutritionist. And it's really simple to understand, and you should be following her for all the information that she has, as well as certain personalized plans and programs if you think that you need it or somebody in your family needs it. Having said that, guys, Amrita, we were really really happy to have you on the Earthier Wellbeing Show, straight from Sikkim. I hope you enjoyed our conversation.
I totally did. Thank you so much for doing this. I feel like we definitely need more of these
Yes.
awareness sessions, and people like you who are taking charge and kind of getting the word out there. It's really great. It's very refreshing. Like I even told you when we spoke before this, I was so excited to come across your page and have
Right.
this conversation with you.
Right,
And
Amrita.
it's really great to know that there are people who are very interested in like science and just evidence based backed up information, and that's just great.
We are just following your lead here.
Thank you. Thank you
All
so much.
right.